Well, I'm pretty excited for today's video because we're going to be taking the first shots with the EAA Girsan Witness 2311 CMX.
Don't know.
Before we dive into this first shots video, I got to get a few things out of the way real quick. First off, EAA did send this CMX out to the channel for me to do a review on. I also want to give a big shout out to Pursuit Armory. They are a local gun store right here in my hometown, and they are handling all the FFL transfers for the channel. Now, the last thing that I want to cover is that I already did a full unboxing video on this CMX. We went over everything that comes in the box, all the specs, and all the features of this gun. So a lot of that stuff is not going to get covered in this video today. This video is going to be about my first shots and my first impressions with this gun at the range. So I would suggest you go back and watch the unboxing video before you watch this one. And if you don't want to go back and watch the unboxing video, I'm going to bring all the specs up on the screen and you can pause it and check it out. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's head out to the range and have some fun. Now, I wanted to do a couple things to this gun to get it ready to take to the range for the first shots. And the number one thing I had to do with this gun was get an optic on it. Now, the CMX is optics ready, and you can direct mount any optic with the RMSC footprint to the slide. Now, I chose to go with the Zalisi Z1 XL. It is a 6 MOA red dot, and even though it has the RMSC footprint, it has a larger competition size window that you would normally see on an optic with the RMR footprint. And this optic is perfect to put on the slimmer slides that you have on the 1911s and double stack 1911s. Now, if you choose not to put an optic on this gun, it does have a white dot front sight and a 2 white dot rear sight. But keep in mind, if you do put an optic on this gun, you are going to lose the rear sight. Now, the next thing I wanted to do with the CMX was put a light on it, because this does have a full-length dust cover with a full-length rail. So you can pretty much put any light on this gun, from a compact light to a full-size light like this Surefire X300 Ultra that I have on here. And I must admit, I think this Surefire X300 looks damn good on this gun. Now, I have quite a few 1911s and double stack 1911s in my collection, but this is my first commander size double stack 1911. So this does not have a 5-inch barrel like I'm used to with all my other 1911s. This has a 4.25-inch barrel in it, and it is a bull barrel. Now, a little over a year ago, I did a review on the Girsan Witness 2311 Match X. And even though I really like that gun, one of my biggest complaints with it was the grip module on it. It had that diamond style pattern that you used to see on the original STIs, and I wasn't a real big fan of it. Well, with the new CMX, they went with a completely different grip on this gun. This has more of that sandpaper, skateboard tape style texture that I really like. You've got that texture on both sides of the grip. You also have it on the front of the grip, and then on the back of the grip, you've got some nice checkering. But if this looks a lot different than a lot of the other 1911s and double stack 1911s I've tested on the channel, that is because they eliminated the grip safety, which I think is just awesome because I am not a big fan of grip safeties on 1911s or double stack 1911s. And they also put a really nice extended beaver tail on this gun, so you are not going to have to worry about getting hammer bite. Now, even though the grip safety's been eliminated on this gun, it does have an ambi safety on it, and it works really well. Now, I'm a left-handed shooter, and double stack 1911s are not the best platform for a lefty, but it is very easy for me to manipulate that safety up and down, and they put some pretty nice serrations on the top of the safety. It just works really well. Now, when it comes to the slide, they put some really nice deep serrations in the back of the slide and up at the front of the slide. And you also have some lightning cuts right in the serrations up at the front of the slide. So it's really easy to grip the slide at the front or the back to rack the gun and chamber around. Now, one other thing I'm a big fan of on this gun is the fitment of the slide to the frame. You've got very little wobble between the slide and the frame, and that's not always the case when it comes to budget 1911s. And when you're racking the slide, it's actually pretty smooth. And while we're talking about the slide and the frame, the slide on this is obviously steel, but this does have an aluminum frame. But even though it has an aluminum frame, this gun still has a little bit of weight to it. It weighs 1.6 pounds, and that's without the light or the optic. Now, the CMX does come with a really nice big magwell. It's got some really nice flaring there on the inside, and it makes it quite easy to change magazines. And speaking of magazines, this does come with two 17-round mags, and the mags are made by Checkmate, which I'm also a big fan of, and I've got quite a few Checkmate mags, and I've never had an issue with any of them. Now, I know this question is going to come up in the comments about the CMX not having a port or a comp, because the Match X has the comp built right into the barrel. Well, you're in luck because they make two versions of this gun. Obviously, I have the CMX, but they also make a CMXX. And just like the Match X that I reviewed a little over a year ago, it has the comp built right into the barrel. So if you want to go with a compensated version of this gun, well, you're in luck. Now, speaking of this gun not having a comp on it, I did not know what to expect when I got it to the range. Well, one of the biggest reasons is because, well, this gun does not have a comp on it. And two, like I said earlier, this is my first commander size double stack 1911. But I must admit, I was quite impressed with how this gun shot. And personally, I think the gun shoots quite flat, and it's pretty easy to get quick follow-up shots. In fact, I was having so much fun shooting this gun, I ran a little over 500 rounds through it, and I actually ran out of ammo. So while we're talking about ammo, let's talk about reliability with this gun. I shot quite a few different kinds of ammo through this. I shot 115 grain Federal Black Pack through this, 115 grain MagTech, 124 grain Igman, 124 grain CCI Blazer, and I also shot about 100 of my reloads through this, which are 125 grain Steel Valley Casting coated bullets. And out of all that ammo, I had 0 malfunctions. Now, after shooting a little over 500 rounds, you can see that this gun is extremely dirty, and it definitely needs a good cleaning, but I was definitely impressed with the reliability. So I'm going to show you that this gun is clear, no mag, nothing in the chamber. Let's talk about the trigger on the CMX. Now, I have 2 or 3 1911s from EAA, and I also have the Match X. And one thing I've noticed with all of those guns is that normally EAA on the website will tell you that it has a tuned 4.5 pound trigger. And that has not always been the case when it comes to all the other guns that I've tested from them. They always tend to be a little heavier with a 5 to even 6.5 pound trigger pull. Now, as far as the trigger goes on this CMX, well, got a nice smooth take up. Very little take up at all. There's no grit, no grinding. And you just get a nice clean break. And it's got a very short tactile and audible reset. You're right back on that wall. And you just get a nice clean break. Now, even though some of these triggers in these guns from EAA tend to be heavier, it's a 1911 trigger. They're better than pretty much any other trigger in any other gun. So I've got the Wheeler trigger pull scale here. I've got it zeroed out. Let's see what the trigger's pulling at after 500 rounds. That one's actually pretty close, 4 3/4 pounds. So as far as a trigger goes in these Witness 2311s, this is the best one I've tested yet. My Match X now, after having a little over 1,000 rounds through it, it's still got around a 5.5 to 6 pound trigger pull. But the trigger in this, it's pretty awesome. Now, speaking of triggers, let's talk about Rise armament. Now, even though they don't make triggers for 1911s or double stack 1911s, they make some pretty awesome triggers for your AR-15s. In fact, I would say half or even a little more of all my AR-15s all have Rise armament triggers in them. And Rise was nice enough to provide my subscribers with a 20% off discount code. So you can head to the Rise Armament website and use my code on the screen and save yourself 20%. So let's get into the pros and cons with the CMX. We're going to get the cons out of the way first because, well, I only have one con with this gun. And that's going to be the ejection pattern. And I'm sure if you've stuck around long enough to get to this point of the video, you probably saw some crazy ejection when it comes to this gun. Now, I kind of had that problem with the Match X, but it was more of a weak ejection pattern. And a lot of people had that with that gun. But it ran reliably. And the same thing goes with this CMX. Even though it had a crazy ejection pattern, like I said, I had 0 malfunctions, but it was giving me a little bit of worry after a bit because I was like, surely this gun's going to malfunction the way it's throwing the brass. But it didn't. But it was also annoying because I did get hit in the head a few times with some brass, and I got hit in the shoulder a few times. So I'm definitely going to have to do something to take care of that ejection issue. But other than that, that's the only con I have with this gun. Now, when it comes to pros, well, we've pretty much already covered them in this video, but there are a lot of pros with this gun. One thing we haven't covered is the price. The MSRP on this CMX is $9.99. And if you choose to go with the double X, where you get the ported barrel, well, that's going to raise the price up about 100 beans, which is still a really good price for a double stack commander size 1911 with a ported barrel. My next pro is that grip module. It feels so much better than the one on my Match X. And I think it's absolutely awesome that they eliminated the grip safety. My next pro is the magwell. I absolutely love the magwell on this gun. Not only is it super easy to change mags, it also kind of forces my hand up, which causes me to get a really good grip on this gun. The next pro, serrations on the slide. They're nice and deep, very grippy, and very usable. They did a really nice job on the serrations. And my last pro with this is the accessory rail. I love the fact that it's got that full-length rail on it, and I can pretty much put any light I want on this gun. So at the end of the day, I highly recommend this CMX. And while I'm filming this video, EAA is at NRAM, and I guess they're getting ready to release a XXX. And I have not seen it yet. So I'm pretty excited to see what they got in store after NRAM. Well, I really want to thank EAA for sending this out to the channel. They've been a big supporter of my channel for the last few years, and they knocked it out of the damn park with this gun. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.